2 Samuel, the 14th chapter. Or this one going to require some reading. So everybody, we're going to at least get 2 chapters in today. In 2 Samuel, the 14th chapter, what is Joab trying to get the woman to do or say to the king for the sake of Absalom? Who's familiar with that story? All right. Okay. Who's familiar with Joab? All right. Okay. Who's familiar with Tamar getting raped by her brother? Okay. All right. So the answer to your question is going to be in that story. All right. So we're going to start at 2 Samuel chapter 13. We'll read about rape in the Bible and the consequences thereof.
The book of 2 Samuel chapter 13 verse 1. And it came to pass after this that Absalom, the son of David, had a fair sister.
Fair sister means beautiful sister. In modern society, they've translated the word fair to mean light. Somebody's fair-skinned, they're talking about somebody that's light-skinned. That's not what it means according to the Bible. Fair means beautiful. And beauty during our times was not light-skinned. It was dark-skinned, just like King Solomon, for instance. I'm dark but comely. Keep reading.
Whose name was Tamar. And Amnon, the son of David, loved her.
So Amnon, we'll have to go back in the lineage, but I'm pretty sure they had the same father, King David, but different mothers. That's usually what it means when it says, and Amnon, the son of David. Of course, they were both children of David, but David had, multiple wives. So he had children by those wives. Read.
And Amnon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin. And Amnon thought it was hard for him to do anything to her. But Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother. And Jonadab was a very subtle man.
So just like the serpent in the garden, he was a sneaky, crafty type brother. Read.
And he said unto him.
So, and also keep in mind that Amnon he's dealing with a lasciviousness, lust. He's got a lust for his own sister, his own half sister. Read.
And he said unto him, why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day?
Brother ain't eating. He's sick because he got a lust for incest toward his own sister. Read.
Wilt thou not tell me? And Amnon said unto him, I love Tamar.
I love my sister. That brother disgusting. Read.
My brother Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said unto him.
Oh, y'all see the word, my brother Absalom's sister? So this would be a sister that had the same father and mother as Absalom. So Absalom and her had the same father and mother, but he had a different mother. Read.
And Jonadab said unto him, lay thee down on thy bed and make thyself sick. And when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat and dress the meat in my sight.
So Jonadab, this is the subtle man. He's the one coming up with the plan on how he's going to be able to commit incest with his own sister. Read.
That I may see it and eat it at her hand. So Amnon lay down and made himself sick. And when the king was come to see him, Amnon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, go now to thy brother Amnon's house and dress her meat. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was laid down, and she took flour and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took a pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Amnon said, have out all men from me.
He want to be in the room alone with his sister. Read.
And they went out every man from him. And Amnon said unto Tamar, bring the meat into the chamber.
Come through to the bedroom. Read.
That I may eat of thine hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made and brought them into the chamber to Amnon her brother. And when she had brought them unto him to eat, he took hold of her and said unto her, come lie with me, my sister.
Let's have sex. Read.
And she answered him, nay, my brother.
Hell nah.
Do not force me.
Why would you force me to do something like that?
For no such thing ought to be done in Israel.
This is against our laws. It's against our custom. You ain't even in the right frame of mind to be asking me something like that. Read.
Do not thou this folly. And whither shall I cause my shame to go?
What am I supposed to do after we commit this act? Read.
And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel.
And what's going to be your reputation once everybody find out that you had sex with your own sister? Read.
Now therefore, I pray thee, speak unto the king.
Let's do this instead. Let's go talk to dad. Read.
For he will not withhold me from thee.
And when we go talk to dad, he'll authorize it and make it okay. But the sister, she was trying to use wisdom to try to get herself out that situation. She know what the laws say, Leviticus 18, that this is an unlawful relationship. But she was hoping to be able to get the brother out of the situation, and then maybe, she won't be caught in the chamber with him again to be raped by her own brother. Read.
Howbeit, he would not hearken unto her voice.
He won't try to listen. Read.
But being stronger than she, forced her and lay with her.
He raped her. He raped his own sister, defiled his own sister. This is Amnon. Read.
Then Amnon hated her exceedingly.
What Bishop call it? The post-nut clarity. My man sick, losing weight because he wanted to have sex with his own sister. And as soon as he had sex with her, he bust that nut, and he ain't want nothing to do with her no more. He ain't want nothing to do with her no more. Keep reading.
So that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her.
He hated her more after he had sex with her than the amount of love that he had for her when he wanted to lay down with her. Brother's evil as hell. Read.
And Amnon said unto her, Arise, be gone.
Get the hell out of my room. Read.
And she said unto him, There is no cause. This evil in sending me away is greater than other that thou didst unto me.
I can't believe how you treating me right now. You went through all of this. You had set up this whole scheme to defile me, and then now you done defiled me and you kicking me out of your room. It don't get no more evil than that. Read.
But he would not hearken unto her. Then he called his servant that ministered unto him and said, Put now this woman out from me, and bolt the door after her. And she had a garment of diverse colors upon her, for which such robes were the king's daughters that were virgins apparel.
Read.
Then his servant brought her out and bolted the door after her.
Read.
And Tamar put ashes on her head and rent her garment of diverse colors that was on her.
So she's mourning now. Remember, these are the things we did, like when we fasted or when somebody died. When you were mourning, you put ashes on your head. And she ripped up her garment of diverse colors because that was only reserved for the virgins. And remember, virgin, it really ain't talking about sex, because sex wasn't a common thing that happened outside of marriage. So it meant that she won't married yet. And it was assumed that if you're not married yet, that of course you haven't had sex yet, because we were in order back then. Nowadays, the whole world is flipped upside down. So the term virgin now becomes associated with sex because everybody's out of order when it comes to sex. But back then, it means that you just hadn't been married yet. So she got to get rid of her garment now because she done been defiled by her own brother. Read.
And laid her hand on her head and went on crying.
Read.
And Absalom her brother said unto her, Hath Amnon thy brother been with thee? But hold now thy peace, my sister. He is thy brother. Regard not this thing. So Tamar remained desolate in her brother Absalom's house.
Tamar went to go live with her brother Absalom. But Absalom, he won't play in that. He's like, I bet. I'm going to handle that. Read.
But when King David heard of all these things, he was very wroth.
Now King David hears about it and he's upset. Read.
And Absalom spake unto his brother Amnon, neither good nor bad.
Absalom played it cool. He didn't make it seem like he was going to get his ass, but he knew he was going to get his ass. Read.
For Absalom hated Amnon.
He what?
Absalom hated Amnon.
Why?
Because he had forced his sister Tamar.
Because he raped his sister. Read.
And it came to pass after 2 full years.
2 years go past.
That Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal Hazor, which is beside Ephraim. And Absalom invited all the king's sons. And Absalom came to the king and said, Behold now, thy servant hath sheep shearers. Let the king, I beseech thee, and his servants go with thy servant.
So trying to get all the boys together. Read.
And the king said to Absalom, Nay, my son.
Nah, not this time.
Let us not all now go, lest we be chargeable unto thee.
Read.
And he pressed him. Howbeit he would not go, but blessed him.
So the king didn't go, but he did bless Absalom to go ahead and come up with some other plan. Read 26.
Then said Absalom, If not, I pray thee, let my brother Amnon go with us, And the king said unto him, why should he go with thee?
King David's like, why you want Amnon to go with you? King David not stupid. He know Amnon done raped Tamar, and he know that Tamar is Absalom's blood sister, whole same father, same mother. Read on.
But Absalom pressed him that he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him.
Read.
Now Absalom had...
Keep in mind, no judgment has gone forth for the evil deed that happened to Tamar. Read.
Now Absalom had commanded his servants, say, mark ye now when Amnon's heart is merry with wine.
Wait till he get a little drunk. We're going to get together. We're going to have a little party. He going to get to drinking. Wait till he get drunk. Read.
And when I say unto you, smite Amnon, then kill him.
Do what?
Then kill him.
Read.
Fear not. Have not I commanded you? Be courageous and be valiant.
Read.
And the servants of Absalom did unto Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and every man got him up upon his mule and fled.
Everybody got out of there quick. They killed Amnon. He got out of there. Everybody got out of there. Read.
And it came to pass, while they were in the way, that tidings came to David, saying, Absalom had slain all the king's sons, and there was not one of them left.
Y'all know that game of telephone. You got one thing that actually happened, and then it get passed on, and then a whole completely different story that ended up in the last person's ears. So it went from Amnon getting killed to all of David's sons got killed. That's what got back to King David. Keep reading.
Then the king arose and tore his garments and lay on the earth, and all his servants stood by with their clothes rent. And Jonadab, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, answered and said, let not my lord suppose that they have slain all the young men, the king's sons.
All your sons not killed.
For Amnon only is dead.
Only Amnon got killed. Read.
For by the appointment of Absalom, this hath been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar.
So Absalom had it in his mind to kill Amnon from day one when he found out Amnon raped his sister. Now, I'm going to ask y'all a question. Was that a righteous or evil desire for Absalom to want to kill Amnon? I'll take a fair answer. All right, let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 25. What does the law say?
And why he tried to get that, what I also want to highlight is look how patient Absalom was to execute that judgment. He waited 2 years. Most of us can't wait 5 minutes to, you know what I'm saying? He waited 2 years to execute judgment.
Look, that also show you how grudging we are too.
Right.
As a people, we don't let nothing go. You know what I'm saying? Nothing go at all. All right. And then also don't forget about David and his sin. All right. And the judgment for David was upon his household. All right. So don't forget that when you read these stories.
Right. It's no coincidence that King David wasn't quick to execute a judgment on his house, because he knew that he brought all of this stuff onto himself, onto his own household. But let's see what the law says about an instance like this. Read Deuteronomy 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22, the first half, you'll find a lot of the laws concerning the dress code and intermingling of seed and all of that. The second half is going to deal with marriage and judgments of marriage, breaking the laws of marriage. Give me verse 25.
Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 25. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her.
Does what?
And the man force her.
So verse 25 is talking about what, brothers? Rape. So if a brother rapes a sister.
And lie with her.
Has sex with her.
Then the man only that lay with her shall die.
All right. So we're going to ask the question again. Should Amnon have been put to death? Raise your hand if you say yes. Okay, so we're all in agreement that the true judgment is that he should have been put to death. Should his brother have lied and wait for him? That's a different conversation. But the judgment for Amnon's sin is death. All right, so keep that in mind as we're continuing to read also. All right, read the end of verse 32 again for Amnon only.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 13, verse 32. For Amnon only is dead. For by the appointment of Absalom, this hath been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar.
So the judgment for that sin was always death. And everybody in that household understood that. So keep that in mind as we read. Keep going.
Verse 33. Now therefore, let not my lord, the king, take the thing to his heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead. For Amnon only is dead. But Absalom fled.
Why did Absalom flee? Because he didn't want vengeance to be taken out on himself. All right. Keep reading verse 34.
Verse 34. But Absalom fled, and the young man that kept the watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind him. And Jonadab said unto the king, behold, the king's sons come, as thy servant said, so it is. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of speaking, that behold, the king's sons came and lifted up their voice and wept. And the king also and all his servants wept very sore.
So everybody was sad that Amnon got put to death. Keep reading.
But Absalom fled.
Absalom fled because he didn't want anybody to take vengeance out upon him. Read.
And went to Talmai, the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur. And David mourned for his son every day.
And everybody know King David was a mighty man. He was a mighty man of war. Killed, what was the number, like 20,000 men with his bare hands. King David won't the type of person you want to be on his bad side. Benji, you got a question? Come on up to the mic. He's trying to redeem himself. He ain't had an MOV feat last time.
Shalom. Shalom, leadership.
Shalom.
Christ bless. My question is, if the judgment was for the brother to die, why would they try to kill Amnon? If that was a righteous thing to do.
Say it again.
If the judgment for rape was to put the brother to death.
Amnon, right?
Yeah. Why would King David and the rest of the men try to kill his son if that was a judgment?
Why would King David try to kill who? Absalom?
Yeah.
Well,
If that was a judgment for rape.
if the judgment for rape was death, why would King David try to kill Absalom?
Or any brother.
Well, King David would have been resting judgment at that particular point.
Okay.
So since he didn't execute the judgment on his son, that's showing that he what?
Partial.
He was partial in his judgment. So he was going to allow his son to live.
Right.
Right? So for somebody to come behind him is pretty much trying to undo what King David established to be okay.
Okay.
All right?
Understood.
Yeah. So King David was going to let it slide. If he's the king and he lets it slide, who am I to come behind King David's judgment or lack thereof? That's the king. All right? That's like Donald Trump had like pardoned a bunch of people. It's like a cop coming right behind him after a pardon and then putting them back in prison. You can't trump the decision of the king. All right? So if King David didn't execute the judgment, who would anybody else be, even one of his sons, be to execute that judgment? All right. We're at verse what?
38.
38? All right, let's get that.
Verse 38. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur and was there 3 years.
So Absalom fled. He was out of sight for 3 years. Read.
And the soul of King David longed to go forth unto Absalom.
Right. So you see that? King David had already pardoned Amnon for that sin. He let him get away with it. So why does he want to go to Absalom now? What does he want to do to Absalom, his son? Absalom killed Amnon. He already pardoned Amnon. What does King David want to do to Absalom now? Come on. He wants to kill him. He wants to kill him. That's why Absalom fled for 3 years, because he already knew how his father was going to get down. Keep reading.
And the soul of King David longed to go forth unto Absalom, for he was comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead.
All right, so now we're getting into the question. Everybody understand the backdrop story of chapter 13 now, right? So in 2 Samuel, the 14th chapter, what is Joab trying to get the woman to do or say to the king for the sake of Absalom? All right, so Amnon raped Tamar, right? 2 years later, Absalom kills Amnon, right? Absalom is now on the run, hiding from King David for 3 years at this point, out of fear that King David's going to do what? Kill him. All right, so everybody understands the backdrop. Now let's read chapter 14.
2 Samuel chapter 14, verse 1. Now Joab, the son of Zuriah, perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom.
Toward Absalom to do what? To kill him. Read.
And Joab sent to Tekoa, and fetched thence a wise woman, and said unto her, I pray thee, feign thyself to be a mourner, and put on now mourning apparel, and anoint not thyself with oil, but be as a woman that had a long time mourned for the dead, and come to the king, and speak on this manner unto him.
So Joab is now setting up a scenario for this woman. Don't anoint yourself with oil. Make it look like you've been mourning for a long time. And now I want you to go to the king. And this is what I want you to say. Read.
So Joab put the words in her mouth. And when the woman of Tekoa spake to the king, she fell on her face to the ground and did obeisance and said, Help, O king.
Help me, King David.
And the king said unto her, What aileth thee?
What's wrong? Read.
And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and mine husband is dead.
Read.
And thy handmaid had 2 sons.
I had 2 sons.
And they 2 strove together in the field.
They fought. They got in a fight.
And there was none to part them.
Nobody was there to stop the fight.
But the one smote the other and slew him.
And in the midst of that fight, one of the brothers killed the other brother. Who sees what's happening here? All right. So Joab set up this fictitious story to be told as an allegory of what 2 sons? Absalom and Amnon, right? The same way Absalom killed Amnon, now Joab is sending somebody else to create a similar story to see how King David is going to judge a different story, given that, given that he was partial toward his own family. They want to see how he'll judge an outside situation that's not related to his family. Read.
And behold, the whole family is risen against thine handmaid. And they said, Deliver him that smote his brother,
Absalom is the one that smote his brother Amnon. Read.
that we may kill him for the life of his brother whom he slew.
Isn't that how King David felt about Absalom? He wanted to kill Absalom because Absalom killed Amnon, which was one of his sons. Read.
And we will destroy the heir also. And so they shall quench my coal which is left, and shall not lead to my husband neither name nor remainder upon the earth.
Read.
And the king said unto the woman, Go to thine house, and I will give charge concerning thee.
All right, so you going from here because you ain't anoint yourself with oil anyway. And I'm going to execute a judgment. I'm going to tell you what needs to happen concerning this situation. Read.
And the woman of Tekoa said unto the king, My lord, O king, the iniquity be on me and on my father's house, and the king and his throne be guiltless. And the king said,
King David said,
Whosoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me.
whoever got something negative to say about the judgment that I'm going to execute, you bring them to me and I'm going to deal with it. Read.
And he shall not touch thee anymore.
Read.
Then she said,
Then said she.
Then said she, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord thy God, that thou wouldest not suffer the revenges of blood to destroy anymore.
So the king's judgment is that he wasn't going to allow the revengers of blood to kill the son who murdered his brother. Y'all see that? That's a little different than how King David wanted to get down with his own son Absalom. That's why his son Absalom had to run away for 3 years, because of verse 1. It says, Now Joab the son of Zeruiah perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom to do what? To kill him. But then when a sister comes with the same scenario that wasn't dealing with his sons, now he got a different judgment to execute. Everybody paying attention?
Yes, sir.
All right. Read verse 11 again.
Verse 11. Then said she, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord thy God, that thou wouldest not suffer the revenges of blood to destroy anymore.
So you wouldn't allow the revengers of blood to come kill the son that murdered his brother. Read.
Lest they destroy my son.
Because I only had one son left anyway. Read.
And he said, As the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of thy son fall to the earth.
Read.
Then the woman said, Let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak one word unto my lord the king. And he said, Say on. And the woman said, Wherefore then hast thou thought such a thing against the people of God?
Read.
For the king doth speak this thing as one which is faulty.
You spoke this as one that's faulty. What was the fault? He was partial in judgment. because he ain't had that same judgment toward his own son Absalom that killed Amnon. Keep reading.
And that the king doth not fetch home again his banished.
Because you're not fetching home your banished son Absalom, you won't let him even come back home. He's scared to come home because he knows that you're going to put him to death. So the answer to the question, what is Joab trying to get the woman to do or say to the king for the sake of Absalom? Joab used this sister to try to massage King David's conscience to show mercy to his son Absalom for killing Amnon. Does everybody understand?
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.